In Alabama, a death row inmate has become the first person in the United States to be executed with nitrogen gas. Kenneth Eugene Smith was put to death last night. He was one of 3 men convicted in the 1988 murder of Elizabeth Sennett. Her husband, a pastor, had recruited them to kill her. A previous attempt to execute Smith by lethal injection in 2022 failed. The Supreme Court rejected a last-minute effort to stop the execution last night. Smith's lawyers argue that using the gas violated his constitutional right against cruel and unusual punishment. After the execution, one of Elizabeth Sennett's sons spoke out.
Kenneth Smith made some bad decisions 35 years ago, and his debt was paid tonight. Weight off my shoulders. I forgive them. I forgive them for what they done. I don't like what they done, but they are forgiven from us.
Well, one of the few journalists who witnessed the execution spoke about Smith's final moments experiencing the nitrogen gas method.
He appeared conscious for several minutes into the execution. For about 2 minutes following that, Kenneth Smith shook and writhed for about 2 minutes on a gurney. That was followed by several minutes of deep breaths on the gurney. Following that, his breath slowed until it was no longer perceptible for media witnesses.
Dr. Keith Ray joins us now. He's an associate professor and chair of criminal justice and social sciences at Alabama State University. Thanks for joining us. Before we get to how we got here, I want to talk a little bit more about the method and the concerns. State lawyers had previously claimed in court filings that an execution by nitrogen would ensure unconsciousness in seconds, but we just heard from that reporter there. That clearly did not happen. Can you talk a little bit more about this method and how it was or is supposed to work?
Yes, good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, this particular method, using the method of nitrogen hypoxia, it occurs when you induce a high concentration of nitrogen to the body. And the premise of that would be you're replacing the nitrogen inside of the body and getting rid of the oxygen. Thereby, you're basically suffocating the individual in that process. What we found here, especially from the criminal justice field and from the medical field, is that is definitely was a concern that we had. So again, it's replacing it and with the high concentrations and basically suffocating the body. Now, what we found with this particular incident was the fact that the process is that they place a mask over the face of the individual and they induce the gas there at that time. Well, one of the issues that were brought up, at least some of the things that we thought were of concern, was the fact that because that gas is odorless and tasteless, what happens if some of that gas leaks out? We also found that some of the individuals that were actually inside the room had to sign agreements along with that, because again, it's not only the concern of the person, but also the individuals that were around during the process.
So some people would have heard about this story and wondered why try this untested method to begin with. Don't we use lethal injection in this country? But lethal injection has had some hiccups over the past few years. I think at one point there was a shortage in some of the chemicals. So I want to talk about how we got here, why this was the method that was chosen. What's happening with lethal injection, and why did they ultimately decide to try nitrogen gas? Well,
a lot of the manufacturers for the drugs that actually, the drugs that they use in order to carry out those sentences, the manufacturers decided, or for whatever reason, they had some concerns, and so they stopped providing those drugs. And in the process, or as a result of that, the state of Alabama, they used alternative methods or combinations of drugs, which basically turned out disastrous for other, for the inmates that were actually going through the executions. So again, so now Alabama and I think a couple of other states turned to this alternative as a method of execution. So this is how we got here, because again, some of the drug manufacturers were having some concerns, and they, for whatever reason, stopped providing those drugs to the states.
Right. Well, I'm sure this is not the end of this conversation. There'll be a lot of analysis as to just how this all kind of went down.
Yes.
Dr. Keith Ray, thank you so much.
Thank you.